They say revenge is a dish best served cold. Well, mine took 60 years to prepare. And let me tell you, honey, when I finally served it, it was ice cold. And absolutely perfect. My name is Margaret Rose Henderson. I am 60 years old. And this is the story of how a scared little girl who was beaten, tortured, and broken grew up to become the woman who made her abuser beg for mercy. But I am getting ahead of myself. Let us start at the beginning. The day my childhood ended. The day my mama died. I was 8 years old when mama got sick. 8 years old when mama got sick. 8 years old when I watched cancer eat her alive from the inside out. She fought it 40 years. My beautiful mama. Fought it with everything she had. I remember sitting by her hospital bed, holding her frail hand. She looked at me with those tired eyes and whispered, "Maggie, baby, you promise me something. You promise me you will be strong, no matter what happens. You hear me?" "Yes, Mama," I said, tears streaming down my face. "I promise." She died 3 days later, May 15th, 1973. I was 10 years old. Daddy was destroyed, completely broken. He would walk around the house like a ghost, barely eating, barely speaking, just staring at Mama's empty chair at the dinner table. My older brother James tried to hold things together. He was 14, trying to be the man of the house, trying to take care of both me and Daddy. But we were all drowning in grief. 6 months later, everything got worse. "Kids, I want you to meet someone," Daddy said one evening, his voice trying to sound cheerful but failing miserably. And there she was, Vivian Bartlett. Tall, thin, with sharp features and eyes like chips of ice. She smiled, but it never reached those cold eyes. "Hello, children," she said, her voice dripping with fake sweetness. "I have heard so much about you." James and I looked at each other. Something was wrong. We could feel it. 2 months later, they were married. How could you? I screamed at Daddy the night before the wedding. How could you replace Mama? He looked at me with such pain in his eyes. "Maggie, I am not replacing your Mama. I could never replace her. But I cannot do this alone. You kids need a mother figure. I need help." "We do not need Ashar," I said. "James and I can manage. We can take care of each other." But Daddy did not listen. He married her anyway, and that is when my nightmare truly began. For the first month, Vivian played her role perfectly. The caring stepmother, the helpful wife. She cooked, she cleaned, she smiled at us in front of Daddy. But the moment he left for work, the mask comes buffer. "Your father may have married me," she hissed the first morning we were alone, grabbing my arm so hard it left bruises. "But do not you ever forget, this is my house now. You are nothing but little parasites living off his money. My money now." I was 10 years old, staring at this woman who had just revealed herself as a monster. "You do not scare me," I said, my voice trembling but defiant. Snack. The slap came so fast I did not see it coming. My head snapped to the side, my cheek exploding with pain. "Do not you dare talk back to me," she snarled. "Now get upstairs and clean your filthy room, and if I find one thing out of place, you will regret it." That night at dinner, Daddy noticed the red mark on my face. "Maggie, what happened to your cheek?" I opened my mouth to tell him everything. But Vivian spoke first, her voice dripping with concern. "Oh, poor thing. She ran into the kitchen cabinet this morning. I told her to be more careful, but she is so clumsy." She turned to me with those ice chip eyes. "Is not that right, Margaret?" The threat in her gaze was clear. "Tell him, and it will get worse." "Yes," I whispered, looking down at my plate. "I am just clumsy." James kicked me under the table. He knew. He knew I was lying. But what could either of us do? The abuse escalated quickly after that. Vivian was smart about it. She hit us where it would not show. Arms, back, legs. Never the face again. That had been too close. She would make us kneel on rice for hours if we misbehaved. Made us skip meals. Locked us in our rooms. Made us clean the entire house from top to bottom every Saturday while she sat and watched like a queen on her throne. "You missed a spot," she would say, pointing with one perfectly manicured nail. "Do it again. All of it. Please, I begged one day, my knees raw from scrubbing floors. I have been cleaning for 6 hours. Can I please just get some water? No, she said simply, smiling. Not until it is perfect. And it is never perfect. James tried to protect me. He would take the blame for things I did, take my punishments. But Vivian was clever. She knew exactly how to divide us, how to make us feel helpless and alone. And Daddy? Daddy saw nothing. He was so wrapped up in his own grief, so grateful to have someone helping with the house and kids, that he was blind to what was happening right under his nose. Or maybe he just did not want to see. Daddy, please. I tried telling him one night when Vivian was at her church group. She is not who you think she is. She hurts us. That is enough, Margaret, he said, his voice sharp. I know you are still grieving your mother. We all are. But Vivian has been nothing but kind to you kids. You need to give her a chance. You need to stop being so difficult. Difficult. That is what he called me. Difficult. Not abused. Not terrorized. Difficult. That night, I learned a hard lesson. Sometimes the people who are supposed to protect you are the ones who fail you the most. You know, dear ones, if this story touches your heart in any way, I would be so grateful if you would share it with your family and friends. Sometimes our experiences can bring comfort to others walking similar paths. The worst beating came on a cold January night. I was 12 years old. I would accidentally broken one of Vivian's precious porcelain figurines while dusting. It had slipped from my hand and shattered on the hardwood floor. You stupid, clumsy little brat, she screamed, her face purple with rage. She grabbed me by my hair and dragged me to the basement. The basement where Daddy never went because it reminded him too much of Mama. She would had her craft room down there. No, please, I begged, terror flooding through me. I am sorry. It was an accident. Accidents have consequences, she said coldly, shoving me down the stairs. I tumbled, my body hitting every step. Pain exploded everywhere. My arm, my ribs, my head. Then she was on me, her leather belt whistling through the air. Crack, 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 crack. I screamed. I sobbed. I begged for mercy. She showed none. This is what happens when you destroy my things, she panted, bringing the belt down again and again. You are nothing. 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 Something inside me broke in that moment. Not my spirit. No, that stayed strong. But something else. The part of me that still believed in fairness, in justice, in good people being rewarded and bad people being punished. I stopped believing in all of that. Instead, I started believing in survival and revenge. When James found me hours later, I could barely move. My back was a mass of welts and blood. I had a broken rib. My left arm was fractured. Oh God, Maggie, he whispered, tears streaming down his face as he carefully helped me up. We have to tell Dad. We have to. No, I said, my voice hard despite the pain. He will not believe us. He never does. Then we will show him. We will show him what she did to you. But when we tried, Vivian had already gotten to him. She would spun another story. I would fallen down the basement stairs because I was not watching where I was going. Clumsy Margaret, always hurting herself. And Daddy believed her. I am taking you to the hospital, he said, but his tone suggested he was annoyed at the inconvenience. You need to be more careful, Maggie. You are always hurting yourself. At the hospital, the doctor looked at my injuries with suspicion. These marks on her back, he said slowly, looking at Daddy, they look like she fell into some gardening tools in the basement, Vivian interrupted smoothly. We really should organize that space better. The doctor looked at me, really looked at me. I could see in his eyes that he knew. He knew what was happening. Is that what happened, Margaret? He asked gently. I wanted to tell him, wanted to scream the truth. But Vivian's eyes bored into me from behind the doctor, and I could read the threat clearly. Tell, and James gets it next. Tell, and it will be 10 times worse. Yes, I whispered. I fell. The doctor's shoulders sagged in defeat. Without proof, without me speaking up, his hands were tied. That was the moment I made myself a promise. Someday, somehow, I would make her pay for every single thing she would done to me. I did not know how. I did not know when. But I knew it would happen. I just had to survive long enough to see it through. James left home the day he turned 18, got a basketball scholarship to a college 3 states away, and never looked back. I did not blame him. He would suffer too. He would try to protect me. But in the end, survival meant escape. Take me with you, I begged him, the night before he left. I was 14, desperate, terrified of being left alone with her. Maggie, I cannot, he said, tears in his eyes. I am barely going to have enough money for myself. I promise I will come back for you. When I graduate, when I get a job, I will come back and get you out. I swear it. He meant it. I know he did. But 4 years is a long time when you are living in hell. Vivian got worse after James left. Without him there as a buffer, I bore the full force of her rage alone. She stopped even pretending to be nice when Daddy was around. She would make cutting remarks at the dinner table, calling me stupid, lazy, worthless. And Daddy? He would just say, "Now, Vivian, that is enough," in this weak, half-hearted way that changed nothing. I counted the days until I turned 18, counted them like a prisoner counting days until parole. I got a job at the local diner when I was 16, working every hour I legally could. I saved every penny, hiding the cash in a hole I would carve into my mattress. Vivian demanded I give her my paychecks to help with household expenses, but I would learn to be clever. I would cash my checks and only give her half, claiming that is all I made. She never suspected. Why would she? In her mind, I was too stupid to deceive her. My 18th birthday came on a Tuesday. I woke up early, stuffed all my belongings into 2 garbage bags, and walked out of that house while Vivian was still asleep. I left a note for Daddy on the kitchen table. Dad, I am leaving. I cannot live here anymore. I cannot live with her. I love you, but you chose her over me and James. You chose to believe her lies instead of protecting your own children. I do not know if I will ever forgive you for that. But I hope someday you will see her for what she really is. Maggie. I never heard from him. Not a call. Not a letter. Nothing. He would made his choice. I lived in my car for 2 months, working double shifts at the diner, saving every cent. Finally scraped together enough for a tiny studio apartment in the roughest part of town. But it was mine. No one could hurt me there. I worked my way through community college, then transferred to a state university, got my degree in business administration, started working at a small accounting firm. Life was not easy, but it was mine. And slowly, painfully, I started to build something real. I met Richard when I was 25. He was kind, patient, understanding when I flinched at sudden movements or had nightmares about basements and leather belts. We got married 2 years later. Had 2 beautiful children, Sarah and Michael. I built a good life, a safe life, a life filled with love and laughter and everything I would be denied as a child. But I never forgot what Vivian had done to me. Never forgot those years of torture. Never forgot the promises I would made to myself in that basement. And I never stopped waiting for the day I could finally make her pay. If you would like to hear more stories from my journey, the lessons I have learned, the joys and sorrows that shaped me, I would be honored if you would subscribe to this channel and leave a little like. Your support means the world to this old soul, and it helps others find these stories too. News of Daddy's death reached me through a lawyer. I was 42 years old, married with teenage kids, working as a senior accountant at a prestigious firm. I am calling regarding your father, David Henderson, the lawyer said. I am sorry to inform you that he passed away last week from a heart attack. I felt nothing, no grief, no sadness, just a hollow emptiness where a daughter's love should have been. I see, I said. Thank you for informing me. There is also the matter of his will, the lawyer continued. You are mentioned as a beneficiary. Will you be attending the reading? That got my attention. When? Next Tuesday at 2 p.m. I went. Not because I cared about inheriting anything, but because I was curious. Curious to see Vivian after all these years. Curious to see if she would aged, if karma had caught up to her, if life had made her pay for what she had done. The lawyer's office was sterile and cold. Vivian sat in a chair near the window, looking older but still sharp, still cold. She was 65 now, her hair silver, her face lined. But those eyes, those ice chip eyes, were exactly the same. She looked at me when I entered and smiled. Actually smiled. "Margaret," she said, her voice dripping with false warmth. "How wonderful to see you after all these years." I did not respond. Just took a seat as far from her as possible. The lawyer cleared his throat. "Let us begin. David Henderson's will is straightforward. The house and all assets are left to his wife, Vivian Henderson. However, there are two specific bequests. To James Henderson, he leaves his vintage car collection, valued at approximately $50,000. And to Margaret Henderson, he leaves this letter and his personal journals. A letter. After 32 years of silence, my father left me a letter. My hands shook as I opened it. "My dearest Maggie, if you are reading this, then I am gone, and it is too late for me to say these words to your face. But I need you to know the truth. You were right about Vivian. You were always right. I found out about the abuse about 5 years ago when I was going through old medical records for insurance purposes. I saw the hospital report from when you were 12. I saw the doctor's notes. He would written suspected abuse with a question mark. Suspected abuse that he could not prove because you would not speak up. I started paying attention after that, really paying attention, and I saw her for what she was. What she would always been. I am a coward, Maggie. I was so wrapped up in my own grief, so desperate not to be alone, that I chose comfort over my children's safety. I chose to believe lies because the truth was too painful to face. I am so sorry. I stayed with her because by then I was sick. The doctors gave me 5 years, maybe 10 with treatment. I knew I would be gone soon, and I wanted to make sure you would be taken care of. My journals contain everything. Every instance of abuse I witnessed once I started watching. Every cruel word. Every manipulation. I documented it all. Use them however you see fit. I love you, Maggie. I am sorry I failed you. Dad. I sat there, tears streaming down my face, holding this apology that came 3 decades too late. Vivian watched me with curiosity. What does it say? I looked up at her, and for the first time in my life, I smiled at my stepmother. Really smiled. Justice, I said simply. Over the next 3 months, I went through every single journal. Daddy had been thorough. Dates, times, detailed descriptions. He would even manage to take photos of some bruises he would discovered, times when Vivian had been careless. I took everything to a lawyer, a good one. This is extensive, he said, flipping through the journals. But I have to be honest with you, Mrs. Patterson. The statute of limitations on child abuse in your state is 7 years after you turn 18. We are well past that. I am not looking to press criminal charges, I said calmly. I am looking for a civil suit. Intentional infliction of emotional distress, pain and suffering. There is no statute of limitations on that in our state, is there? He smiled slowly. No, there is not. The lawsuit hit Vivian like a freight train. She never saw it coming. I sued her for $2 million in damages for the years of abuse I would suffered. I had evidence. I had my father's journals. I had medical records. I had my own testimony. She hired lawyers, of course, tried to fight it, claimed it was all lies, that I was making it up, that I was just a bitter daughter trying to get money. But the evidence did not lie. The trial lasted 2 weeks. I took the stand and told my story. All of it. Every beating, every cruel word, every moment of terror and pain and helplessness. Vivian sat there, stone-faced, as I recounted what she would done to that scared little 10-year-old girl. When it was her turn to testify, she actually had the nerve to cry, to play the victim. I did my best, she sobbed. Margaret was such a difficult child. She was angry about her mother's death. She acted out. I tried to discipline her, but she made it seem like abuse. I never meant to hurt her. I was just trying to be a good stepmother. It was the same lies she would told my father, the same manipulation, the same act. But this time, no one believed her. The jury deliberated for 3 hours. They came back with a verdict. Guilty of intentional infliction of emotional distress. Damages awarded, $1.05 million. Vivian's face went white. She would inherited everything from my father. House, his retirement accounts, his life insurance. It was worth about $2 million total. This judgment would take almost everything from her. No, she whispered. No, this cannot be. Justice, I said, looking her straight in the eye. This is justice. After the trial, I walked outside into the sunshine. Richard and my kids were waiting for me, along with James, who had flown in from California to support me. How do you feel? Richard asked, wrapping his arms around me. I thought about it. Really thought about it. Free, I said finally. For the first time in 50 years, I feel free. The money from the settlement? I donated most of it to organizations that help abused children. Kids like I was. Kids who need someone to believe them, to protect them, to give them a way out. I kept some, though. Used it to buy a vacation home on a lake. A place where my kids and grandkids can make happy memories. Where laughter echoes instead of screams. Where love lives instead of fear. Vivian had to sell my father's house to pay the judgment. Last I heard, she is living in a tiny apartment, working part-time at 70 years old because she has no retirement left. Do I feel guilty about that? Do I feel bad that an old woman is struggling? Not even a little bit. She made her choices. She chose cruelty over kindness. She chose to hurt children who had already lost so much. She chose to abuse and torture and break. And now she has to live with the consequences of those choices. As for me, I am 60 years old now. I have a wonderful husband, 2 successful children, and 3 beautiful grandchildren. I have a career I am proud of. I have friends who love me. I have a life filled with joy and peace and safety. I survived. Despite everything she did to break me, despite all the cruelty and pain and terror, I survived. And I won. People ask me sometimes if I regret the lawsuit, if I think it was worth it, if revenge really made me feel better. And I tell them, it was not about revenge. Not really. It was about that 10-year-old girl who was beaten in a basement, that 12-year-old who was told she was worthless, that 14-year-old who counted days until freedom, the 18-year-old who walked away with nothing but 2 garbage bags at the dream. It was about giving Ipar justice, about telling her that she mattered, that what happened to her was wrong, that she did not deserve it, that she was worth fighting for, even if I had to be the one to fight. So no, I do not regret it, not for one single second. Because I learned something important through all of this. You can survive anything if you are strong enough. You can overcome any abuse if you refuse to let it define you. You can build a beautiful life from the ashes of a terrible childhood. And sometimes, if you are very patient, if you are very careful, if you hold on to hope long enough, you can make sure that the people who hurt you face consequences. Maybe not the consequences you originally wanted. Maybe not prison or punishment in the way you dreamed of as a child, but consequences nonetheless. My name is Margaret Rose Henderson Patterson. I am 60 years old. I am a survivor. I am a fighter. I am a woman who refused to let her past destroy her future. And I am finally, truly, completely free. That little girl in the basement who promised she would be strong, who promised she would survive. She kept her promise, and she is proud of the woman she became.